Do you know what trauma really is? I mean, really? Do you think that trauma is an incident, something that happens to a person, or something that happened to you? There's that book, What Happened to You, which might lead you to believe that trauma is what happened to you, or what happened to someone else. That is not what trauma is. Trauma is not an incident. Trauma is not something that happened to a person in an experience, in a situation. It is not the thing. It is not the event. It is not the incident that occurred in the person's life. What trauma really is, I'm a simplifier. I don't have lots of letters after my name. I don't talk in flowery words that you need to go and get your dictionary, though I read books that I need a dictionary to read. For instance, The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, MD, and Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess by Dr. Caroline Leaf. They use some big words in there, and I need a dictionary. I don't generally talk like that. So I'm going to define trauma for you in a very, very simple way. Trauma is an internal wound that takes place involuntarily. Did you get that? It is a wound that is on the inside of a person. It is in their soul. It is in their brain. And how deep or wide or pervasive that wound is subject to how that person has been affected by it. That will dictate how much healing a person needs. Like if I sprain my ankle or break my ankle, if I scrape my knee or if I get knee surgery, those are different levels, but still there are wounds and injuries that took place there. Trauma is an internal wound that takes place involuntarily. A person does not get traumatized on purpose. There is so much shame that goes with trauma because people feel, I shouldn't have been traumatized. It was all my fault. I should have done something different. I shouldn't have been there at that time. I should have this. I should have that. I shoulda, 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 shoulda. Well, shoulding on yourself is not going to help, because three things I want to tell you about trauma, besides defining it for you. One is it is personal. It is personal. We are individuals and we perceive things uniquely. God made one of you, not two. I don't see or feel or perceive things the way you do. Only you can see and feel and perceive things the way you do. It's a gift that you have been given. That means that the things that you go through, you will perceive them and feel them in a unique way. And that's a good thing. There are different kinds of people. There are people who are inherently resilient. There are people who are inherently sensitive. I'm inherently sensitive. There are people who are raised in good, strong families. There are people who are raised and they don't have a family at all, or their family is so screwed up it's just beyond belief. And all the in-betweens. Nobody is raised perfectly. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. Many people who are raised in good homes suffer emotional neglect. The parents didn't mean to do that. Oftentimes, the adult won't own the truth of that neglect because they feel like they're throwing their parent under the bus. There is a respectful way to be able to deal with that. You don't have to throw your parents under the bus to be able to deal with the internal wound that's going on inside of you. Because that wound's in you and it's not in someone else. And the second thing about trauma, I said trauma is personal. So your trauma is your trauma. What happened inside of you is what happened inside of you. If you have a wound inside your soul and in your brain because of something that happened to you, that's personal. You can't measure it by anything else. It's yours and yours alone. And comparing it to someone else's thing that you think is so much worse does not serve you. Which leads me to the second thing is Trauma is an invisible wound, which is part of the definition. Not invisible, involuntary. Involuntary. It's an involuntary wound. It's not your fault. I oftentimes say and post graphics that children are not to blame for their trauma. Adults say, oh, yes, yes, yes. Adults are not to be blamed for their trauma either, because trauma is a wound. You don't wound your own soul and wound your own brain on purpose. You don't do that on purpose. It's how you process the information. And sometimes it's a whole pile of things of how it was set up, and maybe you were set up, and it's multiple things, and it's like, you're familiar with probably the term, the straw that broke the camel's back. Sometimes it's just like that. And then we go, oh, I can't own that because it was just this little thing. Well, maybe it wasn't that one thing. Maybe it was the whole pile. Stop and consider that. The third thing about trauma is it does not heal itself. If you leave it alone, if you do nothing, if you pretend it's not there, if you dismiss it, if you're like, no, just never mind, just get over it, it will not go away. You shove it down into the dark, it will go sepsis, it will come back up. If you push it down, every time you push it down, it gets stronger. And it will turn into an infection inside of you that will eat you from the inside out. But the good news is that even though it doesn't heal itself, it is healable. You can do the work, and you can heal and set yourself free from that darkness. I healed by the love of God and the light of God, and that's what I share with people. The love of God and the light of God. We bring things out into the light, out of the darkness, so we see it what it really is. We own the truth, and then we love. We fill up on love. I take people through my 4-step process: self, see, expose, love, and free. I can walk you through that, unless you need deeper and you need a counselor. Maybe you need therapy, and you've been running away from that. Let me encourage you to take courage and not let it fester. Quit pushing it down. Quit dismissing it as nothing. Quit passing it off on someone else. Take ownership of your life. You only get one life, just one. And I'm Danielle Burnock from DanielleBurnock.com, that lady on the internet who loves you. I want you to love yourself from survive to thrive. You can do that. God will help you. If you will partner with Him, He will love that out of you. I don't know how long it will take. It depends on how deep it goes. And I can help you discover what you need. You can schedule a 15-minute discovery session with me, and I can help you discover, what do you need? Do you need a counselor? Do you need coaching? Do you need to read a book? Do you need to take a course? What do you need so that you can get free? It's about you. What trauma really is something that holds us back and keeps us back wherever that was, through all the other scientific, psychological words that I on purpose didn't bring up today because I wanted to simplify it. It's an internal wound that happens involuntarily, and you can voluntarily heal it. You can take ownership of it, you can do something about it, and you can be healed. And so, until next time, I love you.